12. Acts chapter 20, verses 7 to 12. It says, on the first day of the week, we came together to break bread. Paul spoke to the people, and because he intended to leave the next day, kept on talking until midnight. There were many lamps in the upstairs room where we were meeting. Seated in a window was a young man named Eutychus, who was sinking into a deep sleep as Paul talked on and on. When he was sound asleep, he fell to the ground from the third story and was picked up dead. Paul went down, threw himself on the young man and put his arms around him. Don't be alarmed, he said, he's alive. Then he went upstairs again and broke bread and ate. After talking until daylight, he left. The people took the young man home alive and were greatly comforted. May the Lord add his blessings to this reading in Jesus' name. Amen. This morning, I know time is fast spent, so I'm going to address you on the scripture reading that has been read to you from the book of Acts chapter 20, verses 7 to 12. The title of my sermon this hour is, Are We There Yet? Are we there yet? I know most of you have made a journey or traveled very distance where you feel so tired and you think, how long is it going to take for me to get there? A few years ago, our family made a trip to Scotland. We went to Edinburgh. And from here to Edinburgh is over 4 hours, about 4.5 hours. And after the long journey, before we got to the place, Cassie started asking, Daddy, are we there yet? Although we enjoyed the adventure, but at the same time, as a child, she couldn't endure the long distance. Anyone who has children or has spent time on the road has heard all the variety of questions being asked. Are we almost there? How much further are we yet to go? How soon we will be there? However, interspersed by all the atmosphere, maybe the time that you spend at service yard, looking at the scenery, or we forget that we take sometimes detour in our journey, and all the time that we spend on those places, at the service yard and various places, counts against the time that you're supposed to be there. So if you are to spend 4.5 hours to get to Scotland, and you spend 30 minutes or an hour at the service yard, twice stopping on the way, that is going to add to the journey time. So instead of getting there within the 4.5 hours, you get there out 5.5. And if you love the scenery, by the time you look around and it's so beautiful, you slow down to watch. And all those things count towards your journey time. If we are honest with ourselves, there's a little bit of the same spirit in all of us. We have an impatient drive to get to our destination, to accomplish our goals and objectives. Yet somehow we fail to factor in all the detours and side excursions that capture our attention and still expect the time used up in most of those pursuant to count towards our journey and still be able to reach our destination on time, forgetting that we took time trying to look at all other things as we journey towards our destination. In our spiritual journey to the kingdom of heaven, all of us are prone at one time or another to ask the same kinds of questions asked by my little girl. Are we there yet? When is Jesus coming? I don't know about your experience, but when I was growing up in the church as a youngster, we were told that Christ is going to return so soon. So our eagerness of the second coming was so soon to the point that I thought I was not going to even complete secondary school. And I remember singing the song, Lift Up the Trumpet and Loud Let It Sound. Christ is coming again. And we look forward to that. And you live in fear that Christ is going to come. Therefore, you need to be good. That is how urgent the soon return of Christ was to us at that time. Whilst the Lord is delaying his coming, whilst we are asking all these questions, most of us are failing to take into account the detours and diversions that are stepping out in an effort to fulfill our agenda and pursuit. However, somehow a connection is not being made. That whilst we are busy doing all kinds of things, sometimes the Lord allows you to live extra day for your own salvation. I don't know how many of us can say that if we are to die today, we will make it to the kingdom. Some of the detours that we take in our lives is for our own good. Because on your journey, if you do not spend time at the service here to rest or to buy food or to use the restroom, then it will be difficult for you to spend 4.5 hours on the road. But here we still want to get to our destination within the same 4.5 hours. It's impossible because our time may not be God's time. And God takes into consideration every aspect of our life. That is why it's very important that as Christians, when we are journeying on this road, we need to allow the will of God to be done. How are we tracking as a church? How are we making progress in reaching our goals and objectives as our church? How safe is our church where literally everyone can come and feel comfortable? Love and forgiveness, encouragement in their walk with the Lord. Is soul winning still the highest priority? Or are we feeling the tiredness of waiting? Where we've been waiting for so long that Christ is not going to come anymore. I don't know about your experience, but as a pastor, I've challenged myself. I've asked myself the same question. Is Christ really going to come? And if he's going to come, why that long? Then I get back the answer to say that in the eyes of the Lord, the day is 1,000 years. Therefore, my ways may not be God's ways. All that he's asking for is that, wait, I will come. And whilst you're waiting, be prepared and be ready. The question is, are we ready? Have we committed our time and resources for the Adventurer Club, Pathfinder Club, all the opportunities in the church for our younger people to feel that they are part of this church? Or are they going to have the same experience where 10 years or 15 years to come, they will look back to say that, oh, Christ is not here yet. That is why the story of Eutychus is very, very important to us living in these days. Eutychus simply means good luck or good fortune. We are on a journey together, a journey of being refined by the Holy Spirit and growing to become more like Christ. How can we not fall out of the window and die, just like Eutychus? After waiting for so long, because the Bible says that the young man was in the church service, was in the room. Paul was about to leave and he called the believers together and said, let's spend time together. And Paul started preaching. Just like how I'm preaching now. If I'm to preach for maybe the next an hour and a half, imagine how many of you may be sleeping. The reality is that people are going to fall asleep. But the Bible says that Paul kept on preaching till late in the night. And the young man, Eutychus, sat at the window. And that is the first lesson that we need to learn out of this story. Proximity. Make sure that you stay close. So when you come to church and you sit at the back as if nothing is concerning you, you may fall asleep. Here was Eutychus. Here was the beginning of his problem. He had to position himself in a way that he wasn't close to where Paul was. So if you are going to preach for that long, go ahead. But let me sit here and mind my own business. Maybe he was forced to be in church, just like some of us come to church because our parents insist that we have to be in church. Just because if you don't come to church, Herbert and Scarlett are going to call you. So in order to avoid that call, let me come to church. So you come to church, you sit in church, but mentally your mind is not in church. Young man came to church, all right. He was in church, but mentally his mind was not in church. He had chosen to sit somewhere away from Paul so that nobody would disturb him. Not on the floor, not on the wall side or anything, at the window. Having proximity to what God is doing is the first part of the growing in Christ. That is why it's so important that when you come to church, be active. Pay attention to what is going on. Don't sit on the fence. Don't sit as if nothing concerns you. So many people talk about church length. However, we can watch a movie for 3 hours and not be tired. We can sit and discuss and chat with our family. Those of us who play domino. And Scarlett, I'm not picking on you. But for hours, and they will never be tired. But when they come to church and this 45-minute sermon is too long, we get so tired. and we begin to fall asleep. The issue is, it wasn't coming to church has to be our priority. It's not just it's the priority. And that is why we need to pay attention to. The best place for you to be is to close to Jesus as possible. So proximity is the first lesson. We need to be closer to God. The second point is being a spectator. There are many members today who are spectators members. They are passive members. They come to church just to look at what others are doing and criticize. You know those who talk a lot in church and criticize everything, they don't do much. Because if you're busy doing something, you don't have time to see even what is going wrong. Spectator members, there are some people who will always choose to be spectators to what is going on. Although he was there, but sat on the fringe. Some people find comfort on the fringe, staying where it's seemingly safe, where they don't have to get involved in anything. So he sat at the window quietly. Paul, you can preach whatever you want to. Go on. Pastor Pierre, you are making too much noise. Society is perpetuating the spectator mindset. We are encouraged to watch and not to watch, to participate. We want to watch what God is doing, but we don't want to take part in what He is doing. What does God require of us? God requires of us to be active members of His church. Christianity was never and has never intended to be a spectator sport. It's get involved. That is why He called the 12 disciples and He sent them out. And then after that, He called the 70 and he sent them out. All that He was saying is that if you want to be part of this, you have to be involved. So you cannot come and warm the pew. You need to be involved. The promised land was full of milk and honey, but they also had to plow and feed the cattle. They had to do something. Even Adam and Eve, when God created them and put them in the Garden of Eden, God gave Adam a specific instruction to what? To take care of the place. We are required to do something for God. But this young man sat at the window and minded his own business, not thinking of what is going on. Make sure that, the third point, make sure that you don't fall asleep at the wrong time. Some people, it is not just a proximity problem. It's not just being active, but falling asleep at the wrong time. Listen to the sermon, but don't apply it. Talk to somebody. You can talk to people, but you don't love them. You know, there are some people, when they see you, they'll shake your hands and say, oh, Pastor, how are you doing? But they don't mean it. Serve someone, but do it unhappily. Don't fall asleep at the wrong time because it could cost your life. Samson fell asleep and he's lost his hair. The disciples, when Christ told them to watch and pray, what did they do? They fell asleep. So what God requires of you is to be watched and what? Watchful and prayerful rather than to what? Falling asleep. Because falling asleep at the wrong time can cost your life. Just imagine air-controlled person at the tower falling asleep. What is going to happen? Falling asleep, we all need sleep. We all need to sleep and rest. But falling asleep at the wrong time can cost your life. But we as Christians, some of us are here, but we are sleeping spiritually. And that may cost our life. Therefore, keep watching because you do not know when the owner of the house will come back. Whether in the evening, at noon, or midnight, when the rooster crows, or at dawn. If he comes suddenly, do not let him find you sleeping. What I say to you, I will say to everyone, watch and pray. And that is what God requires of us. The young man went to church all right, but he did not keep awake. Romans 13 verse 11 says, knowing the time, that now it is hard time to awake out of your sleep. For now is the hour of our salvation nearer than when we first believed. That is why it's very important that we need to watch and pray. Falling asleep at the wrong time can be deadly. The next point, we should be our brother's keeper. If you look at the story, there is nothing to show that anybody in the church helped to keep the young man awake. No one helped Eutychus to be awake. But it's our responsibility for us to keep each other awake. That is why when you see somebody sleeping in church, you need to nod them. That is why many people don't like the deacons and deaconesses in church. Because it's their duty to wake you up. And when they wake you up, you get angry. But God has given us that responsibility that we need to watch over our brothers and sisters. We need to be our brother's keeper. When the Titus was sitting in that window and he was sleeping, if any of the members had gone to him and said to him, young man, you need to wake up, I don't think that young man would have fallen through the window. Let me apply this in our church now. We have many young people in our church today. How many of us are taking our time to be closer to them, to get to know them, what they are going through? Sometimes the peer pressure, the struggles that they have to go through, is not easy. When they come to church, we tell them one thing. When they leave church and go out there, the school and their teachers are telling them something different. Nowadays, when you switch on television, everything is about gay. You can't watch television program without them talking about gayism. I don't know why that of recent is becoming, and we come to church and tell them that the marriage relationship is between husband and wife, man and woman. They go out there and they say, no, it's not like that, it's between Stephen and John. It's our responsibility to be our brother's keeper, to tell these young people that God cares about them. Sometimes we have some family members, parents may be struggling with their child. Maybe you as an outsider, an elder, a member of the church, bringing this child closer to you, mentoring that child will help that child to stay awake. Sometimes when I visit some families and they tell me about the experiences and how sad or difficult it is for them to go through all this, and I say to myself, as a church, I wish we can have one-to-one mentoring system where every child in the church has got a mentor. Some years ago, I went to visit a family, and I'm talking of a single mother struggling with his young boy, and the boy looked at me, and whatever I said to him, he said, oh, Pastor, I'll be all right. And the boy was dealing in drugs at the age of 17. And I said to him, young man, if you continue on this path, you will end up in only one place, and that place is prison. And he said to me, oh, Pastor, just, and you know, when they are in this mood, they talk in a very funny way. And he said, oh, Pastor, I'll be all right, you know. And the mom says, Pastor, the boy is not all right. And I said to him, young man, look at me. Church is still the best place to be. They moved from London to Overhampton. And within 6 months that they got to Overhampton, the boy knew about all the dealers in town. At the age of 17. And as we are talking now, that young man is still in prison. I won't lie to you, I'm telling the truth. He went to prison. I wanted to go and visit him. He said he doesn't need my visit. Because, of course, guilty conscience. Because I warned him that if you go on that journey, that is where he's going to end up. Sometimes we need somebody to wake us up from our slumber, from our sleep. When the Titus was on that window sleeping, he needed somebody to say to the young man, wake up. It's time you are in church. All of us are going through the same spiritual experience, where we become tired because the journey is so long. We thought Jesus would be here by now. When we got baptized, we were on fire for God. When PM team is going out, we are part of it. But now, after so many years, things are going off. And because of that, we feel so tired. Is Jesus really going to come? Are we there yet? But the truth is, I'm not looking forward to the coming of Christ. If he comes and I'm still alive, praise be to God. But the point is, I'm not going to live forever. I can die at any time. Therefore, I need to make sure that my relationship with God is always spot on. So if I'm to die today, I know that when Christ shall come, it shall be well with my soul. And that is what God requires of us. So we need to be our brother's keeper, the peer pressure on our young people, dysfunctional family, because God knows that the devil knows that if he attacks family and family becomes dysfunctional, then he can get control over everything. That is why so many marriages are breaking down. So to you, Scott, and your wife, Anna, I want to challenge you. If you want Winter to grow up and become a responsible adult, the two of you need to stay together. Support one another. And if you're able to do that, the Lord is going to bless you. You can only give to your child what you have. You can't say to your child, behave, and you yourself, you are misbehaving. You cannot be gossiping and tell your child not to gossip. There's a story of a family who went to church, and then when they came back home, the mother was speaking to somebody, a friend over the phone, about another person. And the child was listening. As soon as they got to church the following week, the child went straight to the other person and says, oh, you know, last Sabbath when we went home, my mom was talking to somebody about you. And in the church, it became a big issue that it came to us as leadership, and you cannot give to somebody what you don't have. If you are gossiping and you expect your child to keep quiet. Children learn by what they see. And if you want them to behave, you have to behave yourself. And that is what God requires of us. Peer pressure, media, dysfunctional families are some of the challenges that we are being faced in these days. And the young man sat at the window in need of help, in need of a senior member of the church to say, young man, it's time to wake up. But unfortunately, nobody did that until he fell in bed. But that is not the end of the story. The story says that when Eutychus fell and died, Paul went over and revived him and brought him back to life. What do we learn from this? This simply means that although Eutychus was disengaged, he fell asleep, but he positioned himself where the grace of God could reach him. If Eutychus had fallen at the disco and died, who would have waked him up? Nobody. But because he fell and he fell in church, the grace of God was sufficient for him. Amen. So if you are going to fall in church, still come to church, and the grace of God will be sufficient for you. That is why I love my God so much, because He's not looking for perfection. Church is like a spiritual hospital, where the sick, the lame, those with eye problems, those with leg problems, backache and everything, we are all here. Somebody may gossip, other person may be doing that. We are all here together. Nobody is perfect. Because you are in time, see, it doesn't make you perfect better than me. But in the midst of all that, what is required of you is that position yourself where the grace of God can reach you. That even if you fall to death, you'll be brought back to what? Life. That is why the Bible says that the dead in Christ shall rise what? First. And we who are alive shall be caught up together and what? Meet the Lord in heaven. And that is why the Bible is so good for me. Because He has given us that promise. That regardless of your situation, God still loves you. No matter how far you've gone in sin, God still loves you. All that He's asking for is that position yourself where the grace of God can reach you. A young man went to prison in Ohio, and after being in prison for some time, so many preachers went to visit him, trying to encourage him, to let him know that God still loves him regardless of what. He was on a death row waiting to be executed, and because of that he was very frustrated. His parents out there did their best to get a pardon from the governor. After writing several letters to the governor one day invited the parents to come to his office. When they went to the governor's office, they pleaded with him. And they said, please, he's our only son. Can you please have mercy on him for us? Pardon him, because it's in your power as a governor to grant that pardon. The governor looked at them and he said to them, you are the parents pleading on behalf of your child. But I don't know how your child himself may be feeling now. So it will be wrong on my part for me to grant a pardon to your child based on your own remorse. So if anything, let me go to the prison myself. Let me go and visit him. And then, after my visit, I'll be able to make a decision if that your son deserves to be pardoned. This governor made a decision. He went to the prison. When he got to the prison, and the prison guards went to the young man and invited him and said, somebody is here to see you. The governor went in tie and suit, well dressed. When this young man saw the governor, he thought he was one of the preachers who comes to him. And they've been there, several of them has preached to him. And the young man said, I'm not ready to listen to another sermon today. The young man insisted, they pleaded with him, somebody is here to see you. You just come and see him. The young man insisted that I'm not coming up. The governor waited and waited. This young man did not come. After several attempts, the governor got frustrated and decided to leave. When he left, one of the prison guards went to the young man and said, how was your encounter with the governor? How did it go? Because they were all looking forward to it. They were all excited for him. Because this is once in a lifetime opportunity for you to be saved. When they went to him, the young man looked at them and said, was he the governor? And they said, yes, he was the governor. And the young man said, oh no, what have I done? But then it was too late. The governor has left. And that is the opportunity that is presented to us day in and day out, where we have somebody to go down on our knees and put our petition to him. But because we are stubborn, we've heard the message over and over again. There goes Pastor P again. He's going to make noise up for 45 minutes. I've heard this sermon over and over again that Christ is coming. So there's no need for me to listen to another sermon. But I want to tell you, we are not there yet. But it won't be long. So if you behave just like this young man, insisting that I've heard so many preachers, maybe on that day that preacher came with a good news, but the young man was not prepared to listen to that good news. And because of that, few days later, he was executed and he died. Who could he blame for his death? Himself. We have all been given the same opportunity. The governor is passing by. The governor in the person of Jesus Christ is passing by. And he is saying to you, if you accept my invitation, if you open the door for me to come in, I will grant you that pardon. And you will not be executed. You won't lose your life. I will give you eternal life. Why are you being so stubborn? Just like this young man, insisting that I'm not ready to listen to another sermon. And because of that, he lost his life. I want to present to you, the journey may not be easy. It may be full of frustrations, full of challenges. But in the end, God is in control. Amen. The word says that today, if you hear my voice, do not what? Harden your heart. May the Lord bless us all. Amen. Amen.
We'd like to thank Pastor very much for the timely sermon that he's given to us. I will say yes.